glider program is a new program which we're using to do regular monitoring offshore of Nova Scotia, in this case as part of the Atlantic Zone Monitoring Program.
That program is a multi-region program to study water, chemistry, biology, and physics of the Atlantic Canada area. And the idea is that the gliders are going to be an enhancement to our several times a year sampling at certain sections along those regions, and it will provide more continuous and higher resolution data than we get from our shipboard samples.
The waters around here are warming at an unprecedented rate. A lot of the work that Fisheries and Oceans has done in the last number of years have really revealed the long timescale changes of how the ecosystems, how the physical and biological systems are changing in a warming climate. The gliders are driven by buoyancy. So what that means is that they can change their density so that they sink or float. When they do that, they have little wings on the back that direct the glider so that it will actually sink or float in a kind of sideways direction to give it some propulsion.
This is a pretty neat instrument to use to monitor the ocean. It's autonomous and it's low-cost maintenance equipment. This is one of the instruments of the future.
What we were doing today was prepping the glider for deployment. Basically, we have to get the glider on deck. We communicate with it to make sure that it's behaving the way that we expect, that we've got communication with it. We put it into a surfacing mode, and then once we've got it over the stern of the ship, we do a few test dives with it. We usually do one with a buoy, just to make sure that its dive profile looks ideal in terms of what we want to see when it's actually doing a mission. And then once we've verified all of that, we can untie it from the buoy, let it go, and send it on its mission. The main sensor that we use on a glider is what's called a CTD. It stands for conductivity, temperature, and depth. Really, the conductivity is a way that we measure salinity in the water. So we want to know how salty the water is. We can measure its electrical conductivity. There's a temperature sensor on it that gives us the water temperature, and a pressure sensor which we can convert into depth. We also have some optical sensors which give us a bit more information about the biology and the chemistry of the water that we're sampling. The gliders that we're using have chlorophyll sensors, so we can measure chlorophyll, which we use as a proxy for how much phytoplankton there is growing in the water. And for the third thing that I just mentioned, the CDOM, it's colored dissolved organic matter is the technical term, but it tends to change the color of the water, how the water responds to light and absorbs light, which is important for organisms that live in the water because they need sunlight to grow. If the water is very full of this colored dissolved organic matter, then it changes the depth at which light can penetrate into the ocean and therefore changes the ecosystem response to surface conditions. They're a very exciting tool, I think, that is a lot of fun to work with. It's really exciting to be kind of on the cutting edge of how oceanographers are collecting data now. In terms of being able to identify priorities, being able to identify questions that are really going to become important in the near future, they're an invaluable tool.